Storefront to do backend connector event. Sorry for this glitch. I thought we had audio, but it really was not coming through. My name is Diogo Duarte. I'm the CTO and founder of Prompt Equation, ERPGAP, former ODOOGAP. Been doing Odoo since 2010, version 6, and well, we built lots of different implementations. Some of them require web shops, right? And so we had the experience of doing several web shops in the several different versions of Odoo. We've seen the evolution of the e-commerce platform. And myself, I built my first web shop in a different technology in 2002. And so what we do, ERPGAP prompt equation, we are, as I said, formerly ODOOGAP, recently renamed to ERPGAP. We are Odoo partners in the US and in the UK. And we do have lots of customers in different places in the world, Europe, US, UK, even Australia. And we are e-commerce specialists. So why Vue Storefront? So as I said, we built several web shops in Odoo, and we always felt that even though the evolution of e-commerce platform in Odoo, the website module, has come a long way, it's really an ERP that has published a web shop. So it's not. It's very good if you want to spin a start and very fast your own web shop, and you have Odoo, and it really makes it easier for you because you can manage everything under the same system. You don't need to do any synchronization between your e-commerce and Odoo because all the sale orders will be in Odoo, and that's really great. Also, the delivery, inventory, collecting the payments, the accounting, that's really great. And that's the big advantage Odoo has for a business that starts doing e-commerce. Now, if you're growing bigger on your e-commerce channel, and if you have to take it more seriously, you will hire specialized persons, and you'll easily understand that the backend is holding you down, right? Because before you do anything, you have to make sure the backend is in sync. You have to wire the templates in the way Odoo wants it. Also, the system of Odoo is set for serving an ERP, not for serving a web shop. There are different settings you should have on your server to be performant on the website and also on the ERP. So there's some decoupling there, and yeah, so that's why we search for an open source headless platform, and we found Vue Storefront. We found it very interesting. It was using Vue.js, which is a technology we like. It is used by several companies and several different backends, not only Odoo. And so we found it a great match, and we decided to contribute and start the Odoo Connector for Vue Storefront. Now, what's the advantage of Headless? So Headless, as I said, you will decouple the front end from the backend. That gives you more flexibility and control, and also makes it easier to scale. Speed is also an advantage because you'll be using Vue.js and Nuxt.js because the core is a Nuxt.js server, and it is very well thought in terms of speed. You can, of course, do mistakes like any other technology, but overall, Nuxt.js is a very smart tool if you want to build a website and consider all the requirements you need for having a fast website, since nowadays it's so important. Then, of course, open source, being open source, Vue Storefront is also a big advantage. Odoo is also open source based, and we are an open source technology. We believe that there's an advantage of avoiding the vendor lock-in. Anytime you have a problem, you can always find another person that takes care of your system. You own your code, so there's a big advantage there. Now, as I said before, with a monolithic application like Odoo or Magento or WooCommerce, you have a front end and a back end under the same system. And that's what you see here on the left, right? With a Headless platform, you have the front end, and then you have several different third-party systems or embedded systems that allow you to have additional flexibility. So I can choose to use CMS, Storyblock, Contentful, you name it. There's lots of different options for that. Payment acquirers, you just need to integrate them with your system and always focus on the front end and leave the rest for each specialist. So the advantage of the headless e-commerce is this. How does it work in terms of architecture? So you have the browser. Then browser is going to serve HTML to the customer. And Nuxt.js has a middleware, which is an Express.js server. And that Express.js server is going to connect to Odoo through a GraphQL interface. And also is going to use Redis, because if he already has some of those components, he will not go back to Odoo unless there's a revalidation, an invalidation request from Odoo to Nuxt. So if you change something on a product or change something on a category, it will invalidate the Redis cache, and Nuxt will request it the first time again to Odoo and serve it to the browser. So that gives us a much bigger independence of the backend performance, and you can serve lots more requests without even touching the backend. Now, another advantage is Storefront UI. Storefront UI is a library that Vue Storefront uses, so it's a component library, and it ships with our demo or our template that we maintain on the open source repo. And so it's developer first, it's developer friendly, customization first, and performance oriented. So is this component library, as I said before, it's being used by lots of different backends, lots of different companies that use Vue Storefront, or they can even just use Storefront UI without using Vue Storefront. That gives him a level of detail, a level of performance, and makes things much easier. Then it follows the atomic design patterns for components. I think it's always interesting to show how the Storefront UI design system works. So you start usually with a Figma that you can find on this website, docs.storefront.ui.com. Let me see if I got Storefront UI.io. Here. Okay, so here you can just find how it is built, and you can take a peek into the code if you wish. You can start with the pages. So category page, that's how it looks. You can take a look on the code, how it looks and how it is done, and investigate how you can change things. And so this is using the molecular design and the Google atomic design patterns, right? And so before you start, what we do, we start with the basic design, typography, colors, spacing. So we define the default settings. And after we do this, then we go component by component. We select, for example, let me get a product listing page, for example. So let's suppose you want to change this component. You go here, and this is going to open the component. And it's going to, it uses slots and regular CSS. You can add things here. There are lots of videos you can search on Storefront UI. And so you don't need to start from scratch. You already have a component library. You can focus on first changing the colors, the default CSS settings, then go into each detail and change it accordingly to what you want to build. And that's the first step of doing any Vue Storefront project, is just to fork the Storefront UI design from Figma. You can find it directly on the welcome page here. If you scroll down, you have components designs is the Figma file, and then start talking with the customer, defining what is going to be done and how you're going to fit things into Storefront UI. As I said, is mobile first, so it works great already for several situations. If you use it with your phone, it's going to look great. And so this is also a big advantage of using this system. You don't need to start from scratch, right? Then, yeah, now it's demo time. So let's try to spin on my local Vue Storefront system. And I'm going to do step by step. I already tested it here, but of course, I'll go delete all the folders that I have here. Now, I'm going to clone the boilerplate. So our boilerplate is on our Git repo, but it's also on Vue Storefront. So if you click here, you see Vue Storefront Community Template to do. This is being updated constantly. We are targeting to release at the end of this month the version 1.2.4, and that is going to use by default version 15 Odoo, and it's going to have lots of news. We built several projects using the framework, and now we are polishing up the template so that new projects can profit from whatever we already have on our history. And so let's start by cloning this, and I'm going to take this command that I already have here. I'll copy and paste. So this is what we need to do. So I'm cloning, I'm getting wild here. I'm going to clone the dev branch. I'm recursing some modules because this repo is into it is added here as a submodule. So I'll just do this. It's going to clone the project. It's going to recurse all submodules. And there we go. Now, a second step would be cloning Odoo. I'm cloning Odoo modules. We aim to host it on OCA maybe in the future if OCA approves it. But currently we have it on our Git. This is a repo you can find publicly available here. As I said, I'm going wild. I'm going to use the version 15. You have the GraphQL Vue Storefront module that depends on the GraphQL base. That is a OCA module, and that's why we have it linked as a submodule also. But if you click here, you'll see Vue Storefront GraphQL base. It's pointing to this link here on this external folder, and there is the link to OCA, REST framework, where the GraphQL is published. And so I've done the same thing. I recurse some modules, and I have the some modules folder here. Now, second step, we use Redis server. I already have installed it on my system, so if I do Redis, you'll see I'm in Redis. Anyway, if I run it in development mode, it's not really going to use Redis at this point. So we can just, for development purposes, you don't want to have cache, of course. And now let's run Odoo server. So I'll just copy paste the link here. This is quite simple. What I'm doing is I have a virtual environment under this folder. At ends 15.0 being activate. Then I'm running version 15. I'm going to add the add-ons, the regular add-ons from Odoo. And this folder, you see I'm at testdd. So I cloned Vue Storefront, that's the name of the folder. And I'm using this database, V15 VSF. I'm just going to update it because I already have it installed, because I don't want to take so much time to install the module, but it's as default. You can just delete the database and do it from scratch. It will work fine. So now we have Odoo running, and it's on our local host 8069. There you go. you can see if you go into sales, we added some products that I use on the demo, like these ones. Also, we have, but let's take a look into after I do the same thing for Vue Storefront demo. So I'm going to change into Vue Storefront demos. This is where we have demo 1, right? And here, there you go. This is the files that you can find inside that folder demo 1. At this point, we need to create an env file. So I'll do nano.env. This env file will have some parameters that we need. There's a sample on the code, but I have them here. And later time, maybe I can share them with you. So this is the local. And then, let's take it from the top. So we're using node env, no specific parameters. So the port, the host, the Redis host is pointing to my local host. The site base URL, this is what is going to fetch the products. Site URL, this is the domain that is going to be used for the sitemap. Then you got the base domain, and this is going to be deprecated, and we'll just use this one. But these are things that are going to happen till the end of this month, where we're going to deploy the latest version. This is if you're using a CDN. This is if you're enabling Redis or disabling Redis, but I have that on the top. So now I'll just save this env file. You can also use environment variables, and it will load them, and it will do exactly with the same names that you've seen on this env folder. So now, first you have to make sure you have node 14, node version. This is a very important point. Now you do yarn. We also use yarn. So it's going to install all the libraries that we need to run it. This will be something fast. I guess the build, it takes a bit more time. So yeah, it was fast. Now we will do yarn build. Okay, so it's building. Now, meanwhile, I'm going to show you the GraphQL interface. So on this server, so if you do VSF GraphQL VSF, you have access to the GraphQL interface. So if I do this, I get all my products. You have all the documentation you need here. That's a great thing about GraphQL, all the mutations, all the queries that you can do. It also saves the history. So these are the products. If I do this, they are going to query categories. I can do something like this is going to give me additional fields that I want, and I might need to search on the categories. I don't have much more. But if I do this, I can test. So this is a great thing. If your front-end developers get access to this interface on a dev server, they will never need to ask anything to the backend team, because all they need is here. Even has the documentation. It shows whatever they can do using the front end to call Odoo. So let's see. It's already done the build. So I'll now do yarn start. It's going to start serving the system, the website, and we open the website, and there you go. So, for example, if I just go here, I can take one of these products, for example, jackets. This jacket, take it here. You see, I changed this description of this database. I'll do it here again. So I'll do this here, edit, and sales, and I'll do Z here, so that you can see that something has changed. Saved. Now I refresh, and there you go. It is connected to Odoo. And well, that's all that I wanted to show you, how to spin it up in your local, and you can start play around with it. Then second step, I guess, logical second step, it will be to use code to take a look on how the demo website is built. You can check on the components folder, understanding how things are done, how the templating engine works. As I said, Vue.js, it's very simple. This new JavaScript technologies, I think it's one of the simplest ones to use, and it's very powerful. And yeah, so I think we are done with the demo, and now would be the time for getting questions from you. I'm not sure if okay, let's see. We can unmute. You can unmute if you want to ask some question. Okay. I see Julian. Yes, Julian. Oh, you're muted again.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Awesome. I was wondering if you had some example websites that you already did on Vue Storefront, and that's Headless startup with Odoo.
Yes.
I'm sure that potential clients would have that question. If there are any examples.
Yes, Julian, we have them. Of course, we can talk in private because it's something that we need to have authorization from the customers. But I can tell you, currently we have free websites in production using Vue Storefront and Odoo. But yeah, just send me a message after the call, and I'll be gladly show you.
I have one more question. If you go headless, what is not in Odoo anymore, or what don't you do in Odoo anymore? Like the CMS, you have payment systems, but what is everything that won't do anymore in Odoo?
Okay, that's a good question for sure. We have used most of the features that Odoo has and most of the data model Odoo has for the website. So you can have several websites like Odoo, and you can use the same website data model from Odoo to have several websites being served from Odoo. You have the categories, the products, they are all used from the same place. You can use this new version 15. We are going to release lots of things that Odoo has, like gift cards and well, you have wish lists. You have well, the backend, when you create a shopping cart, is going to create a sale order like in Odoo. Mostly everything is like in Odoo, right? For payment acquirers, we only have currently Adyen. That's the only payment acquirer we have implemented. If it is something that is going to redirect the user to the payment acquirer, it's something that is relatively easy to implement. If it is a native one, it will be more difficult. And of course, depending on what features you're going to use from that payment acquirer. But basically what happens is that Vue Storefront is going to still keep the administration part in Odoo. So you get your settings from the payment acquirer inside Odoo. Then Odoo is going to get the information to Vue Storefront. So he redirects the user to the right place with the right payload. And yeah, I think, I don't know if I answered your question or if you have any specific doubt.
You kind of did. Thanks.
Okay, cool. All right, thanks for your question, Julia. Anything else, guys? Let's see if we have any questions. We delayed a bit to start, so I think we are going to wrap up a bit sooner. Oh, we have Manu. Yeah, Manu.
Sorry, it's a great presentation, but actually I joined a little bit late. So I just ask one question. What is the licensing for this? So I didn't, maybe I attend late. Maybe I missed some part, but
that's a fast one, Manu. It's open source. It's fully open source, right?
Okay.
So Odoo is LGPL. I'm not sure about Vue Storefront, but I think it's also it's an open source license. I cannot say it's LGPL. I'm not sure, but it's open source. You can use it freely. without any problems.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Okay, guys, I think it's all. We're going to wrap up. Thanks for listening. And if anybody has doubts, just send an email. I'll be gladly be available and do a call. And if you want to collaborate with the open source project, or if you want help to build your own e-commerce system, just reach out to us. And thanks again. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.